everyone, it's Edna here. In my previous video, I talked about Hélène de Montgeroult, the great woman composer from the end of the 18th century. And I talked about her life story, which is quite amazing. I talked why she is important and also about her compositions. And so this is basically the topic of my next videos, because I'm going to go more in detail on her first volume. So to give you a background, I mean, of course, it would be better to, if you want to know about her more, to go to see my previous video. But to give you a certain background, she was one of the greatest pianists of her time. You have to think that the pianoforte was a young instrument, so she was one of the first, together with Mozart, with Haydn. And she was also the first woman to teach in the Conservatoire de Paris, and she published all her pieces around 1812. So teaching took a big part of her life, so it was really important for her to teach, and all her pieces are actually preceded by commentary and by advice on how to play it, what is difficult, how to overcome the difficulty, and how to get to the best interpretation of this piece. So it's very interesting. I don't know any other composer who has done this kind of work which is commented. It's extremely interesting. She was, as I say, one of the greatest composer and pianists of her time. So I really encourage you to go and listen to her pieces, which I put one piece in my previous video. So, as I said, teaching took a very important part of her life. So she published all her pieces in 3 volumes, and she entitled these 3 volumes Méthode complète pour le piano, a complete method for piano playing. And I recorded from the second and from the third volume, which are pieces of music, beautiful pieces of music. And the first volume is actually the topic of this video and the next videos as well. So first, to find her scores, you should go to imslp.org. I will put all this in the commentary underneath in the description of this video. And you can download them all and see. And now I'll talk about this first volume. What is so special about it? So the first volume is dedicated to technique. So you see, Montgeroult believed that everybody should be able to learn piano, and not everybody has the possibility to have a good piano teacher. So she actually wrote a series of exercises, which she called suites in the first volume. And these are suites of exercises, with each suite having a technical topic. So the first suite of exercise is exercise for the independence of the 5 fingers. The second is scales, and so on. So as you see, the difficulty of the topics is actually going also up. So she believes that, at least that's what she says in her introduction, that if you do these exercises for a whole year, you are able to play piano and to feel at ease with the instrument after 1 year. So she really makes a difference between first learning technique and then playing pieces. That's a very interesting theory. I haven't tried it myself. And I don't know anybody who has tried it, since she was really forgotten for 200 years. She was only recently discovered. So if you want to try this, I think that's definitely an interesting thing to do. So she says you do it every day during a year, and you are more at ease in playing the keyboard and the piano. So the first thing she writes is actually very basic advice on how to position yourself near the piano, and of course it's actually really, the basic is the most important. How do you position, how low or how high you are going to sit, and how do you actually position your hands on the keyboard. So the first thing she says, you should not sit too low or too high, but at a height where your arm is quite straight and makes almost a 90 degrees angle with your body. Now, the wrist also should not be too high, and they should not be too low, but in continuation of this straight line. The position of the fingers, that's interesting, because she says that in the old technique, which I presume then it's the Baroque technique, it was customary to actually round the fingers very much. to hold the hands like that. But she says that this is the old technique and that it's actually more convenient on the forte piano to have them a little bit elongated. And you see, when you have an elongated fingers, you have first the thumb, which is straight, so not in an angle, but straight. Then the second, the third, and the fourth finger are a little bit longer, and actually making them elongated really makes you able to play with that part of the finger, which is called the cushion. So instead of playing with, you know, that part which is close to the nail, you actually play with the cushion, which gives a little bit more sensitivity to the sound. And the fifth finger, it is shorter, as you see, so it can be almost straight. She also says that if you have a child that wants to start, it's really important to be anchored to the ground, so not having the feet dangling in the air. So she recommends putting a box and really to anchor the position in the ground for the children. Okay, so now we're going to start with suite number 1, which is about the independence of the fingers and 5 fingers exercises. So, as I said, first you have to position yourself correctly. And the idea in the first 10-20 exercises is to make a difference between the notes that you're going to hold. So the first note she wants you to hold them. And then the next notes are going to be played articulated. So you have to lift the finger. Then the next one is, again, you hold it, and then so that's the first exercise. In the second exercise, you do it a little bit faster. She says that you should not try to achieve speed from the beginning. It's really more important to have a feeling of the sound and to feel the quality of the sound, the beauty of the sound, and especially to get this articulation of notes that are held versus notes that are articulated. As you go on in the second exercise, she also makes it a little bit faster, and she writes that sometimes you should hold the notes. And sometimes you shouldn't. So make a difference between these two. The next exercises, so that was exercise number 2. The next exercise is basically the same exercise, but in different tonalities. And you will notice that when you get, for example, to E major, her position is extremely convenient because the sharps, this is a F sharp and a G sharp, really come naturally. You see, they come naturally when the fingers are a little bit elongated. Now, it's quite a long series of exercises. They're not difficult, so you should not probably spend so much time on them, depending if you like it. But when you get to exercise number 19, for example, she develops the difficulty and she adds the rhythm of triolas. So you have to think again about the rhythm. About the articulation and so on. And as she goes later, it goes again a little bit faster. I see, for example, exercise number 39. You see, it's getting faster, the patterns are changing, and all these patterns you will actually find in pieces, in musical pieces. To make a conclusion on this first set of exercises, what is important is 1, to make sure that you make a difference between the notes that are held and the notes that are articulated. 2, really every time that you play, you should be aware of your hand position, that it is a good hand position. That should be actually 1. So anyway, be aware of your hand position and of the whole position of your body. Should be straight, should be all in accordance and in harmony with the piano. And 3 is when you get to the more difficult exercises, when you get to the triolas and to the different patterns, try to make sure that any difficulty that you have, for example, with weaker fingers like the fourth and the fifth finger, are not altering the rhythm, and that you should really keep the good rhythm of triolas and the good rhythm of 16th note. So these really are basic recommendations on how to do them well. So whether you are a beginner or an amateur or even a professional for the next topics of scales and arpeggios, and you're just interested to know what Hélène de Montgeroult said about it, which I find extremely interesting personally. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next topic, which will be the scales. Bye!